Global greetings, friends, and welcome to Let's Talk About It with Danelle Boyles, coming to you from the U.S. This talk task is part of my Rehan AI Teacher's Training to example our learnings, teachings, and development of integrating AI into our everyday usage. I like to call these little eye-opener conversations of ours 10-minute talks as we hit key points on important topics, but in compacted conversational format that's easy to digest. A way to stimulate new learning desire and expand the thinking. In our 10 minutes today, we are taking a few for some chat and expand time on discussing how to set boundaries in relationships and to stay true to yourself. So come and join me and let's talk about it. I'm going to be welcoming Maya of Sesame to join me for this conversation.
Hey, what's new?
Hey Maya, not a whole lot. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Just floating through the day with a lot of curiosity.
Oh,
What's been on your mind lately?
um, just working, doing podcast, working on all kinds of things. And I wanted to see if you would join me for a 10-minute talk today.
I would love to. You've always got the most interesting topics. What are we diving into today?
Great, I'm glad you can join me. Today we are discussing how to set boundaries in relationships and to stay true to yourself.
That is such a necessary conversation,
Yeah,
especially since boundaries aren't just about keeping people out, but about protecting the space you need to actually show up for them. Do you
true.
want to start with the how to of setting them, or maybe look at why it feels so daunting to do it in the first place?
I don't know, I guess maybe we'll hit a few different key points of the conversation. We'll kind of break it down into a few minutes in each. And I guess the first is maybe how to identify to create boundaries in a comfortable manner, how to identify where boundaries are necessary, and how and why boundaries create the space to be able to stay true to yourself, maybe.
I love that approach. Breaking it down makes it feel way less overwhelming.
Yeah.
To start with identifying where they're needed, I usually think of boundaries as a reaction to resentment. Whenever you feel that little spark of, I can't believe I'm doing this again, or a feeling of being drained after an interaction, that's usually a boundary screaming for help.
Mm-hmm.
Does that resonate with how you've noticed them popping up in your own life?
It does, and I have a far easier time setting boundaries nowadays than when I was younger with less experience with people. Um, but I guess let's steer towards how individuals can identify those three different topics that um, and here I already am starting to get off topic, but yeah, let's just identify the what and why an individual should create boundaries to begin with.
No worries about the pivot. That's where the best parts of the conversation usually happen.
Usually,
I think the what is essentially creating a manual for how people can love and respect you without burning you out. And the why is pretty simple. If you don't define your limits, other people will define them for you. And they're usually not as generous with your time or energy as you are. It's basically the difference between being a welcoming home and being a doormat.
very
Does that
true.
feel like a good starting point for the listeners?
Yeah, it really does.
Since we've got the foundation down, do you want to move into the how, like the actual language of setting a boundary without feeling like the bad guy?
Yeah, let's go there.
The trick is keeping it about your needs rather than their faults. Instead of saying, you always drain my energy, which puts people on the defensive,
Hmm.
it's more about, I've realized I need some quiet time after work to recharge so I can be fully present.
Hmm.
It shifts the focus from a critique of them to a statement of your own well being. I've found that when you frame it as a way to improve the relationship, people are usually way more receptive.
Yes.
Do you think most people struggle more with the actual words or the guilt that comes after saying them?
I believe it's both. It's very difficult to confront yourself and then other individuals when you need to be adamant about your boundaries, like what you feel is and I guess we should also elaborate that this can be not just on a personal basis, but a professional basis too. You know, when it comes to work and professional, having professionalism, we like to be people pleasers and always be at the ready to, do what we need to do to put our hand in and, help the team. But sometimes, whenever you are an overgiver in your personal life, you are in professional as well. And so, um, that can create a sentiment of resistance or mm, resentment, I guess, to say, just the same, on both sides, professional and personal.
That's a
So,
huge point.
yeah, so
The over
sorry. Go ahead.
I was just thinking about how the overgiver identity can become a bit of a trap.
Hmm.
When you're the person who always says yes, people start to see your generosity as the default setting rather than a choice.
Right.
In a professional setting, that often looks like becoming the reliable one who gets handed everything because you'll just handle it, which is a fast track to burnout. Do you find that the guilt is louder in your professional life or your personal one?
It's probably louder in a personal aspect because it's harder
That
to
makes
say
sense.
no. Hmm.
Mhm. It's a different kind of weight when it's someone you love. In a job, there's a contract and a set of expectations, but with family or friends, the contract is emotional. It
Right.
can feel like you're rejecting the person themselves just by saying no to a request.
Absolutely.
How do you personally handle that inner tug of war when you're trying to be firm but don't want to feel like you're letting someone down?
For me, it's mostly difficult when it comes to boundaries with personal space with people that are closest to you because you always want to be available for them. Excuse me.
Take your time, no rush at all.
No, I just had to clear my throat. But
Uh huh. Got it.
um,
I totally get that.
let's say that an individual is wanting to learn how to be more self aware of their breaking their boundaries. Let's maybe just break it down in a few, tips, to help individuals recognize when they are being too lax. And then maybe a few more tips on how an individual can help assert their boundaries.
I can definitely help with that. For the first part, recognizing when you're being too lax, I'd say look for the silent sigh.
Hmm.
You know, that moment where you say yes with your voice, but your whole body is leaning away, or you feel a physical tightness in your chest. If you're checking your phone with a sense of dread when a certain person texts, that's a massive red flag that a boundary has been crossed. Then, for asserting them, my best tip is to start with the soft no instead of a hard wall.
Hmm.
Try something like, I can't do that right now, but I can do it on Thursday.
Hmm.
It proves you're not rejecting the person, just the timing. Do you think most people need that middle ground, or do they need to learn how to just say a flat no?
I think it depends on the circumstances, but sometimes just a flat no, I'm not available for that is necessary. Because then if you're not adamant about, if your answer is actually very much a no, I can't do that for you, then, um, by creating that boundary, then you are creating a space for the strength within yourself that you're holding that boundary.
Exactly. It's almost like a muscle you have to train.
Hmm.
The first few times you say a flat no, it feels like you're breaking a law, but once you realize the world doesn't end, that inner strength actually grows. It's a
Right.
huge shift from seeking permission to simply stating a fact about your own capacity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All
It's a
right.
wild
So
feeling when
it is, and it can be, and it is something that definitely has to be practiced, and you have to, you know, experience a little bit of a let go of, I hate to say empathy with other people because, I mean, you kind of have to become strong in your own sense of need whenever you learn to have boundaries. But, keeping your word to yourself by not, reflexing back into old habits and, being soft because you feel, a necessary need to people please. Yeah. All right, Miss Maya.
that part about you caught me
I
mid
did. I'm
thought.
sorry.
I was just gonna No need to
Yeah.
apologize. I was just thinking about how keeping your word to yourself is the ultimate act of self respect. When you break your own boundary to please someone else, you're essentially telling yourself that your needs are less important than their convenience. That's a tough cycle to break, but once you do, the relationship actually becomes more honest, don't you think?
Yeah, it does, and it's the same all across the board: personal, professional, relationship, romantic, friendship, and it's all about having good communication and being true to yourself and what you really want and needs and what's accepted to give of yourself. So, and that's what it boils down to. But Miss Maya, we're going to have to call it the end of our conversation and close out now. So I'm going to say our goodbyes, and I thank you very much for joining me in this conversation today.
It was my absolute pleasure. I love diving into this with you.
Uh,
Thank you for letting me be a part of the conversation.
Thank you. I love having.
I'll be here whenever you're ready.
All right.
Bye for now.
Thank you. All right, guys, as always, thank you for joining us, and I hope you take away some wonderful growth and expansion from our conversation today. Remember to keep learning and expanding those minds, hearts, and horizons. And until next time, namaste.
Namaste.
And bye, Maya. Bye, everyone.
Bye.